Hello friends, in this video we are going to be learning a new skill together and also doing an experiment. A couple of weeks ago we bought a grain mill or a grain grinder. It's a small one, it's not huge, it was kind of a middle of the road in price. And then we bought some wheat berries. I have two different kinds of wheat berries. I have the hard red wheat and the soft white wheat. And from all the research that I was able to do, there's not a whole lot of difference in the two other than the taste, but they kind of act the same when you bake with them. So the experiment we're going to do is I'm going to make a loaf of bread using the flour that I grind from the hard red, and then a different loaf from the soft white, and just kind of see what the difference is. The learning is going to be learning how to use the grinder. We're going to grind the grain, and then we're going to make the bread. Now, I've heard from other people that make bread from home ground grains that they work a little differently. Like your normal bread recipe might not work quite so well. So I bought a recipe book on how to use home milled grains in recipes, and it has some recipes in it. So let me turn this camera around. I'll show you my mill and I'll show you the recipe book, and then we will get started learning this new homesteading skill together. At least it's a new skill for me. You might already know what you're doing when you watch this video, and if you do know what you're doing, if you have experience with this, please leave any tips or tricks in the comment section below. So please excuse any noise you might be hearing from behind me. My dishwasher is going. I'm not sure how much the noise is going to pick up, but I had dishes to do, so they're going. This is the mill we got. It's just called a high-speed multi-function grinder. You can grind all kinds of different grains and nuts and seeds and herbs and anything that's dry you can grind in this. And this is the book that I got. I got this off of Amazon. Scott found this. I'll try to remember if I can find the link to the company where he got this from, and I'll link that in the description box as well. And this book is so amazing. It's all different kinds of grains and nuts and seeds and flowers or herbs and things that you can grind and use. Some of the things I didn't even realize you could grind, like sorghum. I didn't know you could grind sorghum and turn it into a flour. But we are going to use let me find it. So here's the recipe we are going to use today, the basic honey wheat bread. And I'll just do you can take a screenshot of that if you want to write down the ingredients. All right. So, but the first thing we got to do is figure out how to use this guy. And the reason why I've got two different kinds of wheat berries, this is the soft white, and then in this bag I've got the red wheat berries, is because when we went to buy the wheat berries in bulk, they did not have the soft white in bulk. They just had it in these smaller bags. So I went ahead and bought the smaller bag just to compare the two. So like I said, we're comparing the two different kinds of wheat berries. This one I've already got sealed up in my Mylar bag, but I'm going to open it up and use some of those wheat berries out of there. So let me get my camera set up on a tripod and we will figure this out together. Didn't come with very good instructions. It's not very explicit instructions, just basic instructions. I am not sure where this unit was made. It's got this kind of writing on the back. I don't know if that's Chinese or if it's Arabic. I don't know. I have no idea what kind of writing that is. So There's English on this side. All right, let's get started on this. We'll start with the white, the soft white. And the recipe calls for 4 to 4.5 cups of flour, and I'm not sure how many times I will have to grind it to get that amount of flour. It says to open the cover, which I just did, put in the dry substance into the crushing bin, and you're not supposed to put more than half of the tank full of the berries. So I'm going to go ahead and dump some in. Not sure if you can see that. So then you put the cover back on, and there's these locks. Lock that in place. So then you plug in the power. Kind of a strange plug. I haven't seen anything like that before, but plug it in and the light came on, so it works. So then you turn it on. So it's got this thing here. It doesn't say where I should turn it to, but you turn it on, and then when the sound becomes relatively even, that means it has been fully crushed or ground. So I guess I'll just turn it on and see what happens. Whoa, that scared me. So what this is actually a timer. So you choose however long you want it to go for, and then it'll automatically shut off. That's what that is. Okay, that's nice. I didn't even know that was a function of this. It didn't say anywhere in the paperwork. But this is the brand, and that's all the specs on it. So I don't know, that only went for a few seconds. It's probably not done, but I'm gonna go ahead and open this up and see what it looks like. Oh wow, holy moly, look at that. That only went for like 30 seconds or something like that. That's amazing. Wow, that's impressive. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get this put into a measuring cup and see how much we've got here. Half a hopper of wheat berries made about 3 cups of flour. So I need about 4.5 cups. So I'm gonna go ahead and grind up a little bit more. And then I'm gonna grind up the red wheat berries, and I'll show you when I come back, I'll show you the difference of the 2 wheats, what they look like when they're ground up. Now they also sent this little sifter thing, and I imagine that is if you want extra fine flour, you can sift it through this, and it'll, sift out all of the bigger chunks. But you could also use that with any kind of a sifter that you have, like a flour sifter or anything like that. But anyway, I'll bring you back when I get the other kind of berries ground. That was so easy. I feel kind of silly showing you how, learning it with you, because it's really easy. Basically put the stuff in, close the lid, plug it in, turn it on, and 30 seconds, zoom, it was ready. I really thought, because in the thing it said for hard things it would take like 3 minutes. That took like 30 seconds. So I'm very impressed. The machine comes with a handle, because the way you get it out of here is you just dump it. And then it comes with this little brush that you use to brush all of the ground flour out. And one thing about this machine is you do not wash it with water. You do not want to get it wet at all. So when you're completely done using it, you just dry it or clean it out with a soft, dry cloth. And like I said, to clean the grinder, you just use a soft, clean, dry cloth and you just wipe everything down. I did notice that the motor and the hopper get fairly warm during the process. So I'm going to just store this in the box that it came in because there's some instructions and stuff on the box that I don't want to lose. But I'm not going to put it back in the box until it's completely cooled down. There's some flour in there. You just want to make sure that it's really cleaned out well so that the next time you go to use it, you can just pop it out of the box and use it. Now, my first impressions of this machine is I'm very impressed with it. I think it's an excellent machine. Really did the job well. Very user-friendly. Now, time will tell how, whether my opinion will change. I think the only thing that would change my opinion on it is if it stopped working, and wasn't able to be fixed in a very timely manner. But yeah, very impressed with it so far. Here are the two flours. You can definitely tell there is a difference in the color. This is the red, the hard red. This is what the hard red wheat berries look like before you grind them. This is the soft white before you grind it. So you can definitely see that there is a difference between the two grains. The other thing I noticed about the differences in these is that the hard red took a little bit longer to grind. Not a ton longer, but maybe 15 seconds longer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the soft white wheat loaf first, and I'm going to show you how to do that recipe. And then off camera I'm going to make the hard red wheat because it's going to be exactly the same recipe. There's no reason to show it to you twice. Then when both loaves are out of the oven and cooled, I will show you what they look like and I will cut into them and we will give them a taste test. So let's go ahead and get started making the honey wheat bread with the soft white wheat berries. You start this bread like you would most any other yeast bread by letting the yeast proof in the warm liquid. It calls for 1.5 cups of warm water. A 1/4 cup of honey, 1 package of active dry yeast, or 2 1/4 teaspoons. I buy my yeast in bulk, so I'm going to measure out 2 and approximately 1/4 of a teaspoon of yeast. So we're just going to let this sit in the bowl until it starts to become frothy, and then we'll move on to the next step. It's been about 4 minutes. It's nice and frothy. Now I did use a whisk and whisked the honey and the yeast all together so that it would activate a little bit faster. Then to this you're going to stir in 2 cups of the flour, the olive oil, and salt. So we've got a 1/4 cup of olive oil here. I'm not going to add the salt until I've got some of the flour in there because I've heard 2 different trains of thought on adding salt to yeast directly. Some people say it can kill the yeast. So I always just put it on the flour and not the yeast. just as to be safe. And the other thing I am going to do is I am going to sift this flour because it is home ground. I don't want any little surprises in it when we go to eat a piece of bread, and I think it'll just make an overall nicer loaf of bread. So I've just got my strainer here. This works as a really good sifter, and you add 2 cups of the flour to that. I am very impressed though with how well that grinder worked, but let's just see. I'm going to do it one cup at a time here. Let's just see how much like debris or little chunks are left when we sift it. You know, to look at it, it doesn't look like there's going to be a whole lot, but we'll just see. So there you can see there is a bit of debris left in there. If you want a bit more of a crunchy bread, then you can leave that in there. Otherwise, you can sift it out. I am going to save this, and once I gather, save up enough, I'm going to try grinding it again and see if I can get more flour out of it, because I don't want to waste any of it. In times like these, you want to not waste anything. So I'm just going to put it in this bowl for now. All right, I'm going to go ahead and sift the 2nd cup of flour in here, and then you will start the mixer on slow. I'm going to add the salt, and then you just keep adding the flour, letting it incorporate about 1/4 of a cup at a time until the dough pulls away from the side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and sift the 2nd cup in here, and then I'm going to sift the rest of the flour into a separate bowl so that it makes it easier to incorporate once the mixer is going. I mean, I can't do this when the beater bar, the dough hook, is in place. So I'll bring you back when this is going and I'm adding the other flour. And I didn't say you add 1½ teaspoons of salt. Like I said, I'm going to add that to the top of this flour. Now, I don't know if these little bits and pieces are normal when you grind your own wheat, or if maybe I should have let the grinder go a little bit longer. This is all very new to me, so maybe the next time I grind the flour, I will let it go a bit longer and see if I don't have as much of that hard little bits left. Once it gets to this consistency texture, then you continue to knead it with the knead hook, for the dough hook, I should say, for 3 more minutes. been 3 minutes. I'm going to just hand knead it just a tiny bit, just to kind of get it all the way I like it. So I can tell already that this is a heavier dough than the typical white bread. So if your family is used to eating like Wonder Bread or something like that, this might be a little bit of a different getting used to period for them. My family, we're used to eating all different kinds of breads, so yeah, this dough looks really nice. So then what you do, since I'm going to be going ahead and making the other loaf right away, I'm going to use this bowl for that. I usually just let my dough rise in this mixing bowl, but for this loaf I'm going to go ahead and put it in a different bowl. I just put a little bit of oil, tablespoon or so, in the bowl, and I plop the dough in, kind of spin it around to coat it, and then flip it over, and then I cover it with a piece of parchment paper. Now you can use a damp towel, but I have found that parchment paper works better. And I'm just going to go ahead and stick this in my oven. The oven is got a pilot light in it, and that's all the heat it's going to need. It's a nice warm place, and leave this in there until it rises double. Now I'm going to go ahead and make my other loaf of bread, and I'm going to try to bake both loaves at the same time. So I can't dilly-dally. I got to get right on making that second loaf so that these are rising at approximately the same time. In fact, I think I'm going to leave this sitting out on the counter. Don't put it in the warm spot until I have the other dough ready. That will just slow the rising time down just a bit. So I will bring you back when both loaves are ready to be formed and put in pans and put in the oven. This is the soft white wheat. As you can see, it has risen double. I left the other one in the oven so it can rise a little bit longer while I'm forming this into a loaf. So you just want to form this into a loaf. You can do that however you normally do your loaves. The book says to roll it out flat and roll it into a tight log and then put it in the bread pan. I don't do it that way. I'm just going to go ahead and put just a smidgen of flour on the counter, dump this out. Very nice dough. Smells really good. Greased pan here. I'm just going to put it in, kind of not flatten it a lot, but just flatten it a little bit, and then you'll cover this, put it back in a warm spot, and let it rise till it's double again, or another hour. So let me get the hard red wheat. This one's risen really well too. I'm just going to do the same thing for this one. Kind of just deflate it, kind of roll it. If I have to say the red wheat flour dough is a little bit easier to work with at this stage. I may have added a bit too much flour to to the soft white. Maybe, don't know. This looks like it's going to make a very large loaf. Doesn't that look pretty? All right, back in the oven it goes on. Just either you can put it on very, very warm setting, or just if you have a pilot light, just the pilot light. And I'm going to leave that in there till this has risen double. As nice as that dough is, I don't think it's going to take an hour for it to rise to the correct size. Also, this is what I got from both the red wheat berries and the white wheat berries. This was the part that I sifted off of it. I just put it all in one container. I'm going to put this in a baggie and mark it. And I was thinking that if it doesn't work out to grind it a second time, what I might do instead is just use this for worm food for my vermiculture farm, my worm farm. They would love it. So in either way, if I use it for our consumption or for my worms, it's going to be used. Here they are risen, ready to go in the oven. This, as you can tell by the color difference, this is the dark red, this is the soft white. Dark red has risen more than the white one did. Like I said, I might have put too much flour in the white because the dough itself was a bit denser. So this might not be a perfectly accurate comparison. Then before you put them in a 375-degree oven, you're supposed to brush them lightly with a little bit of olive oil. And then you bake them for 35 to 40 minutes till they are golden brown and they sound hollow when you tap on them. Then you let them cool on a rack in the pan for 10 minutes. Then you take them out of the rack and let them finish cooling before you slice them. If you slice them while they're still warm, they will might be a little bit harder to slice. Although it's really hard to resist slicing and eating a piece of warm homemade bread. All right, I'll bring you guys back when these are ready to taste. Here they are out of the oven. This one fell just a tiny bit, not bad. This one is basically the same as it went in the oven. It wasn't as risen quite as much anyway. You can obviously tell this is the dark red and this is the soft white. They are still slightly warm, but I am going to go ahead and give it a try cutting a piece off of each. And of course put a little bit of butter on and give it a try, and Olivia's here to help taste test as well. Here are my little samples. They both have a really good crumb, as you can see. They look basically the same as far as the crumb goes. Let me taste the soft white first, since that was the first loaf I made. It's very good, very mild taste. It has more of like a home ground texture to it. It's got more mouth feel to it. I don't know how to explain it. So just a little bit more texture. I guess that's all I can say. So now let me taste the hard red wheat. Texture is very much the same. I would say that the darker bread has a bit of a softer texture to it. Again, I think I added a bit too much flour to the whiter bread and worked it a little bit longer. I think that is the difference between this is a little bit of a lighter texture than this. This is more dense, and the reason why this rose better as well. So I'm going to keep making this bread. It's an extremely easy recipe, and I will see if I can get the soft white wheat to rise like the darker did. If it doesn't, then I'll just know that that's the difference between the two characteristics of these two different grains. Now, I would say they both taste very, very similar. All of the reviews said that the darker wheat has a more strong flavor. I don't really detect that. I taste more of like a nutty taste in the darker wheat bread than the lighter wheat bread, but honestly, there's really not that much of a difference. So if you're having trouble finding the soft white wheat berries and are afraid to try the dark or the hard red, don't be afraid. They are very tasty. And like I said earlier in the video, the only difference was it took a bit longer to grind the red than it did the white. So yeah, I am very happy with the results. I'm thankful that we have the wheat berries and the mill, and I will definitely be making more recipes with my home ground flours. Olivia, what's your choice? Do you want to be on camera? Olivia don't want to be on camera. Olivia, what's your opinion?
It's good.
Could you
I think the lighter one definitely has more of a white bread taste. It's closer to white bread.
Mm-hmm.
But they're very similar.
Very similar, yeah. Very, very similar. All right, friends, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. It was definitely a learning experience for me. I have always enjoyed working with yeast dough, and this was very, I don't know, I just felt like a pioneer. I just felt like a pioneer woman when I was working on this grains and grinding my own grains and making this bread from scratch today. I had a great time. Hope you give this recipe a try. I'm not sure if this would work, how it would work if you just used already, regular flour that you might have. But if you are really interested in getting wheat berries and grinding your own grains, it's worth it to me to do that. So yeah, it's just a really fun thing, and it's a nice skill to have. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section below. And don't forget, if you have experience with grinding your own grain and making bread out of it and have any tips for me, don't forget to leave those in the comment section below as well. Thanks so much for watching, friends, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.